Anyone can sell electronics. At Electronics Expo, they do more than sell products. They design, install, and support complete technology solutions. From home theaters and whole home audio to lighting, shades, automation, networking, security cameras, and premium entertainment systems. For over 22 years, they've helped thousands of homeowners experience technology at its very best. See the difference for yourself. Visit their Wayne or Paramus stores in New Jersey or shop now at electronicsexpo.com.
Listen, all you New Yorkers.
Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Let's get to Graham Platner of Maine and the state party in Maine confirming going public, accusing him of basically holding them hostage.
His endorsement. Chuck wants him to end it immediately, and they're even shopping for his replacement. Democrats have less than a week to find a new candidate, but the New York Times reports that Platner won't step down unless Democrats promise to replace him with someone just as radical as himself. His campaign says that's not true, but we're not sure how good their word is at this point. The party knew Platner had skeletons in his closet. His opponent was warning about him back in March.
The negatives on this guy are much more damaging, and that's why I'm trying to get people to look at the whole thing, the whole picture. I think his liabilities make him much more vulnerable.
And so a volatile situation. Hopefully this guy will do the right thing and step down soon. But we have entered the crazy season on this. Jason rants to Ana Navarro on CNN. I want you to listen to this. After she claimed that President Trump paved the way for this Platner clown to stay in the race as long as he has.
I mean, I do seem to remember Bill Clinton surviving a pretty damning scandal. That was
after he was elected. After he was elected.
Oh, but so that's the only reason, because he was elected,
absolutely.
He's going to get a pass. I mean, he's still being featured by the Democratic Party. He still speaks at DNC conventions. I think you're right in a more general sense, right, that we now have come to a point where I guess we're accepting of certain kinds of scandals, both the right and the left. I think this goes way further than the traditional scandal that we're dealing with. To me, we should be asking a lot of these Democrat voices, why did you stick with him initially? Mm-hmm. Why did you stick with him after the second scandal and the third scandal and the fourth scandal? Why was the Nazi tattoo not enough? Why was making fun of rape victims or making jokes about rape? Why was that okay? Why did you guys dismiss the New York Times story simply because the victim in that case was a Republican? Like, those are legitimate questions that the Democrats decided did not need to be adequately answered because they wanted to win in Maine and they thought this was their guy.
Ana Navarro needs to be ashamed of herself. So what show does she appear on? Dayside, of course, The View. And I'm coming right back to The View. 800-848-9222. Folks, how does this play out? We want to hear from you. 800-848-9222. Sunny Holston on The View. You won't believe this, but she says that she would still vote for Graham Platner.
It is a disgusting time in politics where we decide what we're willing to morally accept based on the jersey you're wearing. And if you are one of those people that was willing to plug your nose, you're the problem.
Well, then I'm the problem, because I was one of those people, and I said it, if I lived in Maine, I would have, plugged my nose and I would have voted for him anyway. I think that we are in a time of existential crisis in this country. I think Republicans fall in line. They don't fall in love. Democrats want to fall in love and not fall in line. The Republican Party, the bar is so very low. I cannot believe that they want to try to assume the moral high ground on the Republican Party. Right. I mean, you can miss me with all that, especially when you have Pete Hegseth, who was confirmed by the Senate in 2025 as the head, as a cabinet member, as the defense secretary, when he had one, drinking allegations. His sister-in-law submitted a sworn affidavit describing his drinking problem, and in order to get confirmed, he pledged that he wouldn't drink on the job. Number two, he had a tattoo controversy, not one, but two tattoo controversies. One was a Deus Vult tattoo, which is used by white nationalist groups. Two, he has a Jerusalem cross tattoo, which has been interpreted as an extremist symbol. And finally, in 2017, a woman claimed he had sexually assaulted her after a conference. She reported that assault immediately. She had a sexual assault examination. And in 2020, and he says it was a consensual encounter. And in 2020, he paid her $50,000 to settle the claim. Yet,
why not condemn them all? Yes, I condemn them all.
But the Republicans didn't do that. The Republicans confirmed him, and
I'm a Republican right here condemning anyone who's been credibly accused of sexual abuse.
I'm talking about the Republican Party as a whole.
So would you be comfortable?
They are the Epstein file protection party.
You'd be comfortable still voting for Graham Platner if you lived in Maine?
Can I just say one thing about this?
Take the moral high ground.
I really think that.
You know, folks, one of the things that really disturbs me about Sunny Holston on The View and about that show, I don't think she cares at all about the division that she's taking part in, leading, directing. And as far as settling a lawsuit, fortunately, I've never been in that position. But anyone that has had to deal with that, you often know that in a lawsuit, it's much cheaper to settle than the legal fees alone. You go to trial in any legal situation, legal fees can run you several $100,000 easy. 800-848-9222. You go to federal trial. I've told you folks, I was an in-bed reporter at the Southern District of New York for over a year. You go to trial with the feds in the Southern District, I am telling you that you need to second mortgage your home up front because you're going to need liquid $300,000 to $500,000. $300,000 to $500,000 if you plan on going to trial in the Southern District of New York. And by the way, they have a conviction rate. I think it's 97 or 98%. Even the big socialist himself, Mamdani, says it's time for Platner to go.
I believe that it's time for him to drop out of the race. And when it comes to my own endorsements, I've made 8 endorsements at the state and federal level. They've all been right here in New York City. I'm incredibly excited at the fact that they won their races, and that's where my focus is for now. I think the focus of today should be to respond to the gravity of what so many of us have read, and I think that the only appropriate response is for the campaign to come to an end.
So that's from Mamdani himself, and if it's not enough, all that's happened as of late, we have the second former Graham Platner girlfriend speaking out, and she describes violence, which, of course, he denies.
And we have the breaking news for you in our national lead. Tonight, an emotional CNN television exclusive with Lindsay Fifield. She's an ex-girlfriend of Graham Platner, the Democratic Senate candidate in Maine, and she's speaking out on camera for the very first time as Platner faces an accusation of rape from Jenny Rassicot, who he dated 5 years ago and who told her story to us on CNN yesterday. Platner denies that accusation. Fifield told me just this afternoon that much of Jenny Rassicot's story rings true to her own experiences dating Platner from 2013 to 2014 in Washington, D.C. She describes a controlling, occasionally violent partner whom she says was hostile and callous towards women's feelings. This is not Fifield's first time speaking out about Platner. She spoke to the New York Times for a piece published in early June ahead of the Maine Senate primary. Platner denied her allegations of physicality following the New York Times report. That was in an interview with MS Now. But today, as Platner's fellow Democrats abandon his campaign following the Rassicot allegation of rape, Fifield is reflecting on her time with Platner. A warning, the content of this interview includes graphic details of domestic violence that viewers could find disturbing or possibly triggering. Here is my conversation with Lindsay Fifield. You already knew Jenny's story.
Yes.
But what was your reaction to her telling her story yesterday?
I was so proud of her. I was so proud of her, and I know how hard this has been for her, but I also know that she deserved that vindication. She deserved to come out and actually tell her full story, because the way that it was told before, or the parts that were left out before, had left her vulnerable to a lot of attacks that she did not deserve. And she should have been protected the whole time. It's unfortunate that she had to tell her story this way, that she should have never had to come out with her name and her face. She should have been able.
And so that from CNN, and this thing is a big mess.